What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Jack of All Trades Division 2 video. We're coming up on the new season coming out soon, but I want to get this build video out for you guys that I've been using for a very long time, and it's super powerful. I gave you a sneak peek before. Now let's get into all the pieces, and I'll be dropping a gameplay just after. So let's take a look at our regular chart here so we get an idea of what we're working with, okay? This is called the Aggressor, and is a very appropriate name for what we've got. This is a legendary certified build. I use it all the time. You saw some gameplay at Capital for this one, which is perfect. It's a close quarters beast. All right, we're tanky because we're going to be playing up close in Legendary, and we're doing a lot of damage. This is my most aggressive build that I think I use. I don't do any speedrunning or anything. So this is going to be the most aggressive. We're pushing all the time. We're always up close. We're trying to stay within that range because the purpose of the build that I originally created was to basically abuse the Scorpio. Scorpio is one of the best exotics in the game. You see, I invested level 20 expertise into it. You don't need that expertise, but for me, there's not many pieces that I invest that much in, and this one is worth it. So that goes to show how strong this weapon is. And the build is pretty easy to farm for. Alright, y'all, we're in game now. Let's take a look at what we got. So, the star of the show here is the Scorpio. Now, the reason why I said the purpose of the build was to abuse the Scorpio is not just because it's very strong in the DPS department, because if that was the case for this setup, then we could have went with the Ouroboros, right? But the CC effects that you get from the Scorpio exotic talent, specifically the Disorient and then the Shock, that'll freeze the targets that you're shooting at and give you enough time to either get a reload in between or get enough shots out without them having to shoot back at you. And that's why this is so powerful. I often will keep a Scorpio as a secondary on some of my longer range builds in case I get pushed for that exact CC reason. But here we're making it the star of the show as our primary. We'll talk about the other weapons after. This is a striker setup because of course we're going for damage. We're running striker with the chest. Now the other thing that synergizes nicely here, because shotguns are good at getting stacks up. The pellets, each individually, will give you a stack. And so, with the shotguns, you'll be able to get those stacks up quickly. That's why a lot of people will run the ACS-12, which is the full auto shotgun, because it'll build stacks super, super quick, especially like the rock and roll. But even with a semi-auto shotgun like this, we're still putting out enough shots to build up those stacks naturally without needing to worry about like swapping to another weapon and keeping track of our 200 stacks. I generally don't run the striker chest except for very specific cases like this build because I don't like having to swap to a shotgun and then build stacks and then swap back. I find that kind of annoying. And the other thing is 3 stacks are lost between 100 and 200 stacks per second. Okay, so normally you'll see it's 2 from 50 to 100 and then 1 from 0 to 50. So it's a lot easier when you're not running the chest to maintain those stacks, to not just get them up because you're only working with 100 stacks instead of 200, right? The chest is doubling the amount of stacks you need to get, right? So it's already a challenge to build those stacks up in the first place, and then you have to keep them. And when you're losing 3 a second, you'll start to feel that. You'll rarely go under 100, but you might need to rebuild stacks up to 200. But with this shotgun, right, I was explaining with the pellets, that's what's going to keep us in the zone and with a very, very, very high uptime on the chest, which is why we're running it here. And it's going to push out a lot of damage. Strikers with the chest is a lot of damage potential. And then, of course, we have the Memento, which you've seen in some builds before. This is where pretty much all of our survivability is coming from on this setup. Of course, it's layered, right? So we have blues, we have a shield, we have a Revive Hive, which I'll talk about in a bit. But the Memento is from this long-term buff is giving us weapon damage, bonus armor. We're running 5 blues, so that's 50% bonus armor each trophy that we pick up. Skill efficiency is going to buff our shield health. And then, of course, we're also getting that 3% armor regen, which is very, very big. We don't have any other armor regen on the build. It's just going to be coming from the memento. And then I opted to go gunner for some of the reload speed and fire rate bonuses, but also the 10% armor on kill was the main reason I went for gunner. We'll talk about some other options in a bit. Okay, so survivability wise, we have 10% armor on kill. We're getting that burst from gunner specialization. We're getting 3% armor regen over time with the memento. And then on that kill as well, when we pick up the trophy, we're getting another 50% stackable bonus armor. And you'll see that that comes into play a lot in the gameplay. I'm often running around. It's a very, very aggressive playstyle. I'm running around, getting kills, and then diving onto the trophies to get that bonus armor and to keep going. And then before we get to our last piece here, I'll talk about our skills. We're running the Crusader Shield, small shield, and then different to the last build I posted, the LegHeart barcode build, where we were going for more sort of sustained tankiness, a more tactical playstyle where we had the Artificer Hive to replenish our shield. This time, we still have the tier 6 shield, and we're still going to get that skill efficiency help from Memento, but this is more of a kind of one-time use thing. We're not trying to take sustained damage to the shield because we're going with the Revive Hive instead. This will give you an idea of how the build is meant to be played, how I've set it up. We're not staying in that like close mid-range where we're being tactical with, you know, peeking corners and waiting for our Artificer to refill our shield. We're going in hardcore, aggressive. We're not trying to down, but with the ranges that we're playing at, it's going to come down to sometimes like if you hit the shot, you know, you get the kill, you get the bonus armor, you survive, and if you miss one shot, you could down. And you're not going to have many other options with how close that we're playing, and that's why we're keeping the Revive Hive to allow you to have that breathing room to play aggressive, and you'll be able to get picked up if that's needed. And now moving on to our last piece here. Again, similar theme to what we saw in the barcode build. We get one choice for a high end because we have our Memento Exotic, our 4-piece gear set. We're picking a named piece that is actually from the specialization. This one, the ammo dump, I'll show you guys here. So we saw before that if you go to view field research, as you're unlocking the technician specialization, that's where the Motherly Love blueprint comes from. There we go. For Firewall, the ammo dump comes from that same tier. As you're unlocking Firewall, you'll get the blueprint for the ammo dump at stage 2. So if you have this specialization unlocked, you'll have this blueprint for sure. It might go under the radar. I've never seen anyone use this piece on any build ever. Every time I've inspected someone, I've never seen someone use this piece or even really talk about it. And it's a super special piece. If you'll notice here, something looks a little weird. It looks a little different. There's usually not that many attributes. Look at what's going on here with this Badger Tough named holster. We're getting 10% ammo capacity in addition to our regular 2 random rolls on this setup. That's crazy. There's not many. I think the Wyvern named holster, the Claws Out, is one of the only other ones in the game that's a name piece that gives you an extra attribute stat. And what's really cool about this one is that it's completely extra. Like these two, you have your regular crit chance, crit damage. Of course, these roll randomly, so you'll have to farm for this. Not farm, but a blueprint spam. You'll have to craft spam to get this one. You get to get a reroll. We're keeping it blue. And then you get a 10% ammo capacity additionally. So if you're running with Badger Tough, if you're running a shotgun, this piece just makes so much sense because you're not even making trade-offs. You're just getting extra ammo capacity. And in Legendary and prolonged gunfights, especially with some types of shotguns as well, and you'll see I have the FAMAS as a secondary that burns through ammo, having the extra ammo capacity is quite nice. And like I said, there's no loss, so why not? And that's what I'm choosing as our one high-end piece. So those are all the pieces. I mentioned the FAMAS. That's what we're going to run as our secondary. Again, in these sorts of situations, the primary is really the star of the show. I'm keeping the secondary as an assault rifle so I can engage targets that are further out, and you'll see that I need to use that every once in a while. So it's very good to have. The FAMAS does the most, not DPS, but it has the highest RPM, and because we're running that striker chest, the FAMAS with the highest RPM is going to help us keep those stacks up. And that's why I'm choosing to run this assault rifle, but you can run whenever you want. I'd encourage you to pick something with a high RPM. And then we have our classic pistol for pretty much all my legendary setups. TDI card with extra skill tier to give you an extra revive hive charge, and with sledgehammer in case you need to proc that. Alright y'all, so that's pretty much, it's a deceivingly simple build. That's the whole setup that we got going on here. We got the 4-piece striker with the chest, with the shotgun, abusing the Scorpio and its CCFX to play it very aggressively. And we got that very cool ammo dump with the extra ammo capacity and our classic memento. Let's talk about balance and variations now. Now I didn't mention, but I'm running crits everywhere. I would highly encourage you to run crits. It kind of just makes the most sense for regular damage. But one of the variations you could do is swapping out your mods for protection from elites. Now I do need to have chance on most of these pieces, but you could trade off a little bit of crit and then run PFE on all 3 of these pieces. That might be helpful in some scenarios. I go with crit because it's the most widely applicable. I'd rather just deal damage all the time than have to pay attention to, am I engaging an elite or not. For me, that's how I run it, but you might enjoy running PFE in these slots. The other thing that we can change up here is the balance of blues. Now, I'm actually choosing to keep one of my striker's pieces red, and you'll see I rolled all the other ones to blue. We don't really want to go less than these 4 blues on top of the memento, because this is keeping our shield at tier 6 right now. We have 5 blues total plus the 1 skill tier. We're at tier 6. If you drop a blue for a red, you're going to also not just lose your armor, but you're going to lose a shield tier as well, and that's our primary line of defense, so I wouldn't recommend it. You could go the other way and then make this into a blue as well. You'll be even tankier. Your shield won't get tankier because it's at max, but you'll be tankier and you'll be getting more bonus armor per trophy that you pick up as well. So that could be cool. Now, if you want to adapt this to lower level content than legendary, this I think works great in heroic group, heroic open world. This is one of my, I don't play a lot of heroic, but when I do, this is the build that I'll often throw on because it's quite effective. Running the chest in heroic and under, you might not be getting those 200 stacks all the time because the enemies are less tanky and you're just going to be killing them, which ultimately is the point, but we're really taking advantage of it with how tanky legendary enemies are. And the last thing I'll mention is I chose to go Gunner. In this build, unlike some of my other ones, it's a little more of a preference thing here. I like Gunner because of the 10% armor on kill, and you'll see from the other ones, I think the next one that I would recommend is running Firewall. So if we take a look at Firewall, a lot of these things I don't find to be that useful. The armor kit is quite powerful. Cluster grenade is okay, but really I think what's tempting here is that new shield that gives you the extra damage boost. I'd say that's the most enticing part about running Firewall, and that's how you could do it. So you'll see you'll unlock this other one, this shield, already at base, right at tier 6, we're getting 7% damage bonus per enemy. And then I think I might have some mods as well that give even more damage. There's one. Let's see here. Oh, I don't have any of the mods. I think I'm missing a mod, but, you know, getting 8% extra damage, that's pretty strong. That's pretty strong. So that might be worth running Firewall over Gunner. Alright, so I talked about everything I wanted to for the build. I hope you guys are going to enjoy it, but we need to address the elephant in the room before I close out this video. Timing-wise, with the way that things are playing out, they just announced that the new update should be going live this Tuesday, which is going to be, from the time I'm recording it, in a couple days. Now, there could be some changes to the Scorpio. From what I've seen in the patch notes so far, the rest of the build will remain untouched, but the Scorpio is potentially subject to a nerf that's gonna change not just the exotic talent and the amount of hits to proc the different CC effects, but it might also change how the base weapon, the 612, functions in terms of damage, fire rate, reload speed. That's going to be interesting. Now, we're not at that yet. This is being recorded before TU22 drops and all of those changes are into play. It's very, very strong. And I think I'm going to keep the build. I'm going to make an update video talking about how it plays out with the Scorpio changes, but I don't see them nerfing it to the point where this build is going to become obsolete. We're going to find out very, very soon, but let's give the Scorpio the best chance at staying strong in the new update, and this is the build to do it. If the Scorpio is going to be nerfed, this is our best way to unnerf it, or to keep it as strong as it could be. I'm hopeful. I don't think it'll be too bad, but I'll post a follow-up on that. The build is still the same structure. Alright y'all, I hope you enjoyed another build video on Jack of all trades for Division 2. Keep playing, keep having a good time. TU22 is coming out, or at the time you're watching this, it might already be out, which means I'm going to be making a lot more build videos. I'm super excited for the new content that's going to be coming, and I hope you guys enjoy it alongside with me. I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy.